Hi, and welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. My name is Don Pelto, and I have Gisele Saenger here. Welcome, Gisele.
Thank you, Don, for having me here. So let's talk about business.
Yeah. So your background is in billing and really helping people to bring in more revenue. So you work primarily with podiatrists, is that correct?
That's right. We only do podiatrists, yes.
And that's the benefit is finding someone that only does podiatry, kind of having that niche. And you have a book. And so what I've asked you to do today is kind of talk about some really actionable items for those that are listening to us, and you'll tell them about your book afterwards. So let's talk really, like, what's the biggest thing as you're getting in and meeting a new doctor? What are the most obvious things that you see that there's some things that they can correct or they should be correcting?
Educating the front desk. I think I noticed that front desk lack of understand of the revenue cycle altogether creates a lot of cash flow problems. And for example, it's understand the eligibility verification, which is simple. You know, nowadays insurance make it so available through online portals, and where it's so easy to make. In the past, yeah, you need to make phone calls, but now you can use technology to have this very quick. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of practice still not doing that, and doctor doing procedures that it's expensive and it end up not being coded or not being covered, or required an authorization that was not granted, before, and other areas of the front desk as well, beside eligibility. Understand the basic of billing. For example, what is a copay, deductible, why the patient has a deductible, why the patient has a copay.
Well, how to explain it to the patient too.
Absolutely. So those are things that I see. And understand insurance coverage, like what is an HMO plan, what is a PPO plan, what is a Medicare, what's a Medicaid. So front desk is very confused. What means a secondary, we see front desk getting prescription ID and reported choice to bill as a healthcare, which is not, this patient is not covered, that's a prescription, Okay. So it's just a lack of understanding of the front desk, to help with the job.
So let's assume that the front desk is doing their job, because as doctors, we always just assume that it's being done, and but it might not be, but I totally agree. Let's say you're actually talking to the doctors now. What are some of those things, maybe either that we're billing incorrectly, or things maybe that we could be billing for that we're not billing for? Talking about just normal in-office visits or procedure types of things.
Yeah, so doctors, the portion of the doctor, doctors also need to understand a little of the guidelines. What I like to make highlighted to my doctors is you need to understand what is the top. Usually doctors have one or two, maybe three carriers that are the main revenue maker for their practice. Mm-hmm. It's very important to identify who are those carriers that bring the revenue, the bulk of your revenue. And then understand what is your top 10 procedures that bring revenue for your practice. Once you understand that, then you need to learn what do you need for reimbursement of those top 10, and then understanding, navigating through these guidelines, it's crucial for revenue. So we see doctors, because of this lack of understand, the notes does not support the coding. So then when insurance requests for notes, supportive notes, or if the doctor is being audited, so that's not sustain these coded bills, and also understand when to bill, mainly when we're doing orthotics. So I believe 80% of the doctors, they bill incorrectly for orthotics. Usually orthotics are billed when they're casted. The doctor usually bills for those orthotics, which is incorrect. In healthcare, you cannot bill pre-bill. You need to only bill when you provide.
Dispense them, yeah.
You didn't dispense, so you cannot bill for it. So you can bill for casting, which many doctors also miss billing for casting, So it's understand also what's on your package of service, why you can bill for it, you know. And then have these protocols into the practice, so things are not missed to bill and not billing correctly.
Yeah, and so in some of the most like successful practices that you see, what are some of the main revenue generators? What are the top 10 things that we should be using for codes?
Oh, that's a lovely question. The practices that are over $1 million revenue generated, the practices they are doing have, like, if the doctor is interested in sports, you know, medicine, they are having in orthotics, they are having in DME devices. Doctors that are interested in wound treatment, the appligraphic, you know, that is a high reimbursement, and also wound dressing, you know, they are mainly a high revenue maker. And I see doctors that are strong a little bit, or they are just average, you know, they are not like in the $1 million range. They do a lot of routine foot care. So what I tell my doctors is, do not tell anybody that you do routine foot care. They will come to you. You gotta promote for your patients these services that are high revenue generated, you know, so that your patients know about those services and attract those patients to your practice, you know.
I think that's great. So I just want to clarify for everyone listening. For example, if you do wound care, it's not just debriding the wound, it's then dispensing the dressings. You actually make more from the dressings than you do for debriding the ulcer. So you can't make it for a single doctor over $1 million by just doing debridement. You have to be dispensing other things with it. Is that what you meant, right?
Absolutely, yes. The wound dressing, and now we see high reimbursement for we call the Q code, which is the appligraph material, which we see reimbursement for one application of these range like 10,000, 25,000. I've seen, you know, depend the size of the wound. But this is a treatment that I know that is not exciting. I don't like to see the pictures, but that is generate a high volume of revenue, and you do application every week for 12 weeks. So say, just make them do the math, like one patient, if you get $10,000 for one patient application every week, 12 weeks, wow. You know, so you have a good revenue. It's expensive as well, but you have a high reimbursement, you know.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to a guy the other day. They have like a verification line too that supposedly works, right? So you're not going to have to eat one. That's the big concern for a lot of us of doing in the office is what happens if they don't cover it, but they have a pretty good verification process. And with having a good biller, you can help you determine that, right?
Yeah, well, that's a lovely question as well, because what we recommend our doctors is when you sign up with a lab, make sure that this lab is checking eligibility, get authorization if you need it. And if you do not get reimbursed, they would refund you, you know, the money that you pay for it. We do have doctors that work with the lab that way, and we send back that the insurance is not paying because it's not covered, and the lab is refunded the doctor, you know. So it's important to do not sign up with any lab that will not refund you if you don't get reimbursed.
Now, when you're talking about lab, you're talking like for like appligraft and grafts. Lab, you mean also orthotics and AFOs that they refund them for those too?
No. The orthotic AFO is different.
Yeah.
Orthotic and AFO, they would you need to bill as like you cannot get this reimbursement, you know. Yeah. So then no salvage claim that we call, you know. So then when you bill as a no salvage, you put on the claim on the field 19, that's a tip right there, and that it's a no salvage claim, so that the insurance pay for it. It's a gamble. I would say a gamble. They are not required to pay, yeah. You know, but you should send it, and most of them they pay for it, you know.
So we talked about wound care. Now about our practice is more like sports medicine. So within, just to be clear again, it's not just doing office visits, 3 and 4 level office visits for sports medicine, but it's more the other stuff, maybe orthotics. Like in Massachusetts, orthotics typically aren't covered. AFOs are getting to be a little bit more restricted, and we have to send them to like Hanger for AFOs. But amnio is something that people buy, or they pay for, and also Shockwave is something that produces a lot of revenue. Those are the ones that I do. Are there other things within the sports medicine practice that you're seeing?
No.
Tips with those?
You are on the right track. You know, the AFOs, the problem with AFOs is same and similar, that it's now doctor, there's a lot, you know, we get into same and similar. And that those same and similar, you can check the DMU website, and you can, you know, look if the patient already had it, and also ask the patient to sign an ABN. Now, there is other thing that if the patient lost the device, you can send with modifier R as river, A as apple, that tells that it's a replacement, and the insurance will pay for it, you know. Not always, you know, sometimes they also deny, say same is similar already, and then we need to dispute. But it's same and similar is the colors for AFOs, you know.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about so those are the main things I think our office does. Are there other things that other offices are doing really, really well, or things that I'm kind of, we haven't talked, like maybe do they sell shoes? Do they sell other types of things, or I don't know, what other things that are the really successful practices doing that?
Shoes. We have notes a drop in shoes through our doctors, and actually I thought that's interesting. We have a yearly meeting where we discuss the revenue of the practice, the trend, you know, and the weakness, the strengthness. And then one thing I noticed is a drop of the diabetic shoes. And doctors are saying that the lab is not very friendly with them to return, and they are trying to shy away from it. So more, I think L3000 for sport medicine, I think is the main revenue maker for most of doctors that I see.
Orthotics, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Not exactly L3000, orthotics, should I say? Yeah.
Yeah. For us, it's a big revenue. Now, do you ever go visit practices? Like, what are the practices that are doing a lot of them? What are they doing well? Are they better at explaining? Do they spend more time? Do they use presentations? What types of things make those, like some doctors do 60 a month, others do 10 a month. What are the characteristics that do a lot more?
That's what I also like, I work with even my clients that with podiatrists had, or should I say medical in general, like they have a hard time collect patient payments up front.
And talking about money.
Exactly, talk about money. That's where I think practice that they are not doing so well, strong, and practice are very successful. They have no problem discussing money with the patient. And I think that's the key component, because patient has a lot of responsibilities nowadays, and insurance makes very difficult to the doctor to fight for the money sometimes. So having the patient aware of a possibility of payment by, you know, giving an ABN, say these services might not be covered, and you might be responsible for amount X, Y, or Z, you know, and the patient, and get a deposit, you know, get a deposit for your orthotics, because if the patient change their mind, you're covered for your costs, you know, you don't lose money. And educate your patient about your policies, you know, that's the communication with the patient. When is that upfront and clear, you know, it's so smooth, you know. Mm-hmm. I tell the doctors to the upfront payment, which I address in my book, you know, it's so important. With the revenue come from patient of a practice that has no problem collect patient payments upfront, is like 40% of overall revenue, in average, around that. You know, it's a high amount. So doctors that are missing that, they are actually having to pedal a little bit harder to get this money in, and then need to involve the collection company, which patient get upset, and they put a note on the, you know, Facebook about this doctor that is annoying, you know, hunting for the money, you know. which when you have the upfront payment, patient will be happy because now the patient will receive a refund payment because patient overpaid, and you don't need to deal with collection agencies because, it's all taken care up front, So it's a win-win for the patient and doctor.
How about credit card on file? You think that's a good idea, having a credit card on file?
I totally think it's a good idea. There is a credit card on file. There is, you need to work with a reliable software that you can track these because of security. You don't want that to get stolen, can be, expensive, So that's a concern, but if you do work with the software that does have the privacy and the security that you can rely on, definitely I would suggest you keep on file. Dentists, they do that, why you cannot do it, Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a friend, he does that. He says it makes it so much easier, and he just requires a credit card on file. And
yeah, we have clients doing that as well. And we send the first statement. If the patient doesn't pay the first statement, automatically charge from the credit card.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So tell me some of the other good points, some of the high points in your book before you tell them how they can get a copy or learn more about it.
Sure. Yeah. So I like to present the revenue cycle, okay, from the beginning, where is the marketing, when everything started, when you bring your client or patients to your practice, to the end results of, the review of your reports, everything in between, it's part of your revenue cycle, So that's we address on the book, your front desk, the doctors themselves, they preparing the notes, the compliance notes, and the software they use that it's very important to creating the revenue, to document the notes and the billing. And also talk about the back office, the compliance of the back office, importance of reading those letters that come from the insurance, that we see a lot of recoupment letters, insurance requested, which is a big revenue maker, that docs need to, I see a tendency to hide this information because, not hide it, just not give importance and just put away. And we see money's taken from the AR because nobody responded to that, to that letter. So we address in the overall revenue. It's a very quick reading book. So doctors can understand the whole process, and then with the goal to implement change on the practice and be successful.
Yeah. So Gisele, I guess the question is, how do you make a determination? And this, I'm sure you get a question a lot because I referred someone over to you recently. People have a hard time finding in-house billers sometimes, someone you can trust and things like that. How do you determine to have in-house or versus having someone external like yourself? What's the conversation that doctors are having?
Yeah, so if you're doing in-house billing or you're outsourcing your billing, it's the same. You need to find the match. So what I tell the doctors is you need to find out why you're looking for this billing. What kind of work, outline what kind of work you're expecting before you go looking for it. So once you have why you need it specifically, you want to submit the claims and the person want to do follow-up. You want to, break down what you need and look for the match, So a billing company as in-house billing, both can be, can make you or can break you. I have seen in-house billing really damage the finances of doctors, and I saw a billing company doing the same. So you needed to, be aware of the both possibilities and work with people that know they're doing. What I'm very concerned about billing services that are very cheap, which they charge, let's say 3% or 2.99%. So my concern is what quality of people are working on that. So if you're paying $500 for billing, how far in quality of people that goes? What quality of people work on your claims? The same of people you're putting into work in your billing. You want to pay $10 an hour. How much information this person know, and how much is the person prepared? That's your cash, so you need to be conscious of it.
I think that's great. It's the same $10 staff or a $20 staff or $30. You get what you pay for, and with billing, that's where 100% of your revenue comes in having the experience. Great, Gisele. If people want to learn more about your book or your website, maybe they can get the book there. Where do they learn more?
Yeah, so this is a copy of my book I have here. So you can find my book in Amazon. So you can search the business side of podiatry revenue or Gisele Saenger, you come up. And also have my website, ParaDocsMRC.com.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been very fun, very educational.
Thank you, Don. Nice talking to you.